So may I move to the last module, or whether anyone want to have a 5-minute break or something?
I think we should finish.
Okay, if not, then we move to the last module. Last but not least is module 5 on the corporate accountability, presenting by Ms. Sothany CHUN. Sothany, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bon. Hopefully everyone's still awake and not too hungry. Okay, so we have discussed a lot about the corporate governance, and also part of my topic have been discussed briefly as well along all the topic. I mean, we've been talking about, I think we've been talking about the, I don't remember who was talking about that, but ESG. So in this topic, when we talk about corporate accountability, there's there's a lot that's going to be covered. So hopefully I can do that quickly because there's quite a lot. First, I'll introduce corporate accountability to the team. So what does that mean? And then I'll talk briefly about the obligation of the corporate. What are their obligation in regard to the accountability? And then I will talk about the motivation for corporate accountability. So why corporation need to need to have corporate accountability. And I will also be talking about the reporting, the corporate social responsibility reporting. So that's the report in relation to the corporate accountability. And I will also be talking a little bit in relation to the financial reporting, which is the key for all the business. So what does that mean to corporate accountability? And I'll talk about different reporting requirements in terms of corporate accountability, including the mandatory reporting requirement and also the non-mandatory reporting framework. Not the requirement when we say it's not it's not mandatory. And then I will also be talking, if it's not mandatory, why corporate need to have the reporting? Why would they do that? What the benefit for the corporations? And then at the last, almost last now, I will be talking a little bit about climate change and their relation to the corporation in terms of corporate accountability. And the last one would be the role of the corporate mechanism. So we talk about the corporate governance, and we talk about all the different aspects, all the different features in corporate governance. So what does that mean in terms of the corporate accountability or the social and environmental responsibility? So that's quite a lot, like I say. First of all, let us understand about the corporate accountability first. What does that mean? We talk about ethical governance. We talk about the benefit for different stakeholders. So when we talk about corporate accountability, it's actually it's the ethical obligation of the corporation to ensure that rather than just benefiting a group of stakeholders, but they also benefit all other stakeholders, including the people, the environment, they are staying in the community. So that's the corporate accountability. It's more than just the accountability to just one group of individuals, but it's to the whole stakeholder. And the question is why corporate accountability is relevant to corporate governance. So when we talk about corporate governance, we talk about accountability, we talk about transparency, we talk about risk management, we talk about stakeholder trust, and then we talk about sustainable development. And corporate accountability is key into all of this. With corporate accountability, it helps business to ensure accountability, transparency, it engages different stakeholders, it increase the trust, and it's also reduce the risk, and also it ensure the sustainable development of the business. So it is very important for the business in this regard. The obligation. So corporate accountability, in some places it requires as it is an obligation for a business, and then we have three key obligations. Number one is legal obligation. So in some country, corporation have the legal requirement, or they have legal obligation to report. So they need to comply with environmental policy. For example, if that country have environmental law, they have to comply with different rule and regulation in terms of community, in terms of people. So labor law is everywhere in every country. That's the obligation that corporation has to abide by. So that's number one, which is the legal obligation. The second one is ethical obligation. So it's not mandatory required for them, but it's ethical for them to implement or to practice corporate accountability, because that would reduce the harm that the company may bring to the environment or to the community where they are working. And this will also ensure that all the stakeholders are fairly treated. And then the last obligation that the corporation do in terms of corporate accountability is what we call voluntary obligation. So this one, there's no requirement, but it's up to the corporation to adapt or to take their responsibility beyond what they are required to do. And we see this in a lot of the big corporation. They have what they call CSR, which is Corporate Social Responsibility Initiative. They set up a program to benefit the community where they are working, and also to have a different group of people. It just they voluntary, or they do it by themselves. There's no one forcing them to do it. So the question is, with all of that obligation, if it is legal obligation, we can understand why corporation should do it. But when it is voluntary obligation, so what are the motivation? Why does corporation want to take this accountability? Why do they have to do this? There's a few perception that we think that we believe that motivate the corporation to do that. Number one, what we call legitimacy theory. So the corporation want to be seen as they are legitimate business. So meaning that they don't want to lose the approval from the society. So they want to be seen as doing good, so that they can get support or they can get trust from the community where they are working, which gonna be in along the way, it's gonna benefit their sales, gonna benefit their financial performance as well. The second theory that we believe is one of the motivation for corporate accountability is what we call stakeholder theory. So in a business, there's a lot of stakeholder. And when we talk about stakeholder, we refer to shareholder, we refer to customer, we refer to investor, we refer to staff, all of this. So everyone is a stakeholder in a business. And in some stakeholder may have different influence than the other. So some stakeholder influence may be seen as very, very strong for the business, and for the corporation to receive or to ensure good relation with that stakeholder, they have to take this corporate accountability just to stay connected, or just to address a specific group of the stakeholders concerned.
Sothany, you are muted.
Oh, sorry. When did I start muting myself?
At point number 3.
Point number 3. Okay, thank you. So the third theory is about institutional theory. So this one it's to align themselves, to align the corporation with the expectation from the peer, from the regulation, or from the society. An example for this in Cambodia is the financial sector, where they set up a lot of different conducts or code of conduct, where they voluntarily agree to follow just to ensure that they meet the expectation from the regulator. Number 4 is what we call signaling theory. So this one is like to signal themselves, to stand out, to prove that their corporation or their business is differentiated from other competitor. So I'm doing good things, so you should be supporting my business because of this good deed. So this is increasing the competitive advantage for the business itself. Number 5 is what we call political economy theory. So this one, the corporation take on corporate accountability or take on CSR project or initiative. It's to manage the relation with powerful group. So when we talk about it sounds kind of like a bit negative, but it's not that necessary. So because they are for example, it's an organization or a business supporting some religions activity, because their main stakeholder or they want to engage with those people. That's the reason why they want to take that. So just like it's the group of people where they want to interact with, where they want to have a strong relation with, so they take that project to support it. Okay, so now we talk about why we need to do, why we have to take accountability, or why do we have to have environmental or social responsibility. But then the corporation, when they take on activity related to social and environmental, they don't just do it. They have to report it. They have to show it to the public. So now we're going to be talking to different components of the report, of the CSR report. So in the report itself, there are some components. Number one is executive summary, which is consistent from all the report. There's going to be a section talking about a summary of the whole reporting. And that's the second part of the report that we see very consistent among different business. It's the profile of the company. So who the organization is, who the company is, what they are doing, who are the key stakeholders. And then we have the governance and the leadership because they want to show who are the key player for the business. So that's included in the report as the governance and the leadership of the company. The fourth item that we see in this CSR report, a corporate social responsibility report, is materiality assessment. This materiality assessment is again related to the social and environmental activity. So they assess if there is any kind of like key issue or big issue in terms of this aspect, the environmental and the social responsibility aspect. And then number 5, they talk about their performance. So it's environmental performance, how the business is doing in regard to environmental. And when they talk about environmental, I mean how much they have sold or how much they have reduced their harms to the environment from the business that they are doing. And this part is especially very important for business that operate in the area where their business is directly or indirectly impacting to the environment. For example, the garment factory. So it's very key for them to include their impact in this environmental performance section. Number 6 is social performance. So again, about their doing good, what they do well, but it's not just about the environmental, it's about the social. So what have they done for the community? What engagement with different stakeholders they have done? For example, the financial sector in Cambodia, they've been trying to operate to push for financial literacy. So that's their social performance. While they operate, they also help community to understand about the financial literacy. So that's their social performance. And then economic performance. So economic performance, it's about their business as itself, but then also what is their contribution to the economic as the whole. Then the other section is about stakeholder engagement. So again, just to mention again, when we talk about stakeholder, we talk about different group. It's not just the shareholder, it's not just the staff, but it's also the community they are working with. There's also the customer. So if they have any activity where they get feedback from the customer and that the concern from the customer are being raised and being heard by the business and then include into their R&D, into the setting up a new product and all of that, they would include in this part as to show the public what they are doing in the social responsibility part. Goal and target. Again, this goal and target is not necessarily about financial target, but it's all about their CSR target. So what do they want to achieve from the beginning of the year and what have they been achieving through their practice. The other component that we see in this report is about the reporting standard and framework. So there's a lot of reporting standard when it comes to social responsibility part. So they have to describe in this report which framework or what standard they are using. The last one, the other ones, sorry, it's about the data. So they have discussed about a lot of things in regard to what they have done in terms of CSR. So now they're gonna be showing the supporting or the data to support the report that they are presenting. And the last one is about the verification, anything that can be used to verify the data that they do. Okay, the very last part of the CSR report is about the conclusion and the future outlook. So what do they conclude from whatever they do during the reporting period? And then what do they see in the future? Is there going to be any change to what they're going to be doing in terms of CSR? Or what do they pursue going to be changed? So that what we just hear about is all the component that we expect to see in a CSR. So it look a lot, but like I mentioned, there's nothing related to financial number. So now let's talk about when we talk about business, the key reporting for them is about the financial reporting. We have income statement, we have balance sheet. So that's key for every business. So now what I'm talking about now is what does this financial reporting do with the CSR? What does it mean? In financial reporting, it's very limited. So it's only show the number. It's only show where our assets are. It only show how much do we have. It's only show how much profit do we make or how much expense do we are we incurring. But it doesn't show anything else. So the report, it says it's only focused on the financial number. And it does not show the external part of the business. So it doesn't show whether the profit that we generated is actually coming out because we harm a lot of people. It doesn't show that how many community people have been benefiting from the work that we do. So it doesn't show any of that. Also, the financial reporting is very much short term. So you can have the projection, but still it's very much the accuracy or the reality is very much for the short term. It does not have very much on long-term focus. And when I'm talking about standardized framework, I'm talking in relation to social environmental focus. The reporting framework, we have a lot. We have financial reporting framework, but again, it's about the standard on how you are presenting your revenue, how you are presenting your expense, how you are presenting your assets and a liability, but it does not have a standard to, okay, how are you presenting your impact to the community, the harm that you bring to the community because of your work. It doesn't show any of that. And also in the financial reporting, because it's very much number, and it's really hard to to put different intangible benefits. So for example, we talk about the financial sector, we talk about the financial literacy. It's really hard to show that in the financial report, how much benefit they have brought to the community because of what they do. What is shown on the financial report is only a total expense made because of the activity, which can be perceived as a negative part rather than the benefit taken from that. Also, in the financial report, there's disclosure of related risk. Generally, it's risk related to the financial position of the company rather than general risk. So there's no environmental risk, there's no staff-related risk included in there. So it's very limited to financial number again. That's also the same for the disclosure. Perspective from the stakeholder. The financial report is fact. So it shows the fact of the company. So it does not include perspective, how the stakeholder perceive the business is doing to the community, how the client perceive the business. What we can see from the financial report from the client perspective, for example, is the level of revenue. If revenue is going up, we perceive that the client may be happy with that, but we don't know if they are actually happy because of the CSR activity or because of what any other reason. And the financial report that we have right now is also, it failed to capture the intergenerational impact. Okay, so those are what limited in the financial reporting framework or the financial reporting requirement that we have. But when it comes to social and environmental practice, we know that there's kind of like different obligations. So if it is legal obligation, then definitely there's a mandatory reporting requirement. So in this case, there's a requirement from a regulatory body which require the institution to report on their social and environmental performance. There's also the environmental reporting requirement. So they have to disclose environmental impact, how they are doing in terms of their GHG emission, how they are using their energy, their water usage, their waste management, an example like that. So that environmental reporting requirement would be in place if we have the environmental law. The third one is about the social reporting requirement. So the social reporting requirement is actually requiring the report on the impact on people and community. So that's related to, for example, labor law requirements, human rights, community engagement. So those are the social reporting part. And then we also have the sector-specific requirement. In some sector, in some business, I put an example as garment factory. So we know that the pollution created by this sector is higher comparing to other type of business, for example, the financial sector. So for this kind of sector, there might be a specific reporting requirement for them to fill out, to report, to ensure that they are complying to the requirement from the regulator or the government. Then there's also this framework, which is more kind of like global. So we have UN SDG, the social development goal. So there's also GOI, SASB. So this one is more international, used by different business, and it's kind of like it's a standard that you use it, then the reader would know what you are referring to. Also, if there is a mandatory reporting requirement, so if the reporting on ESG is required, then definitely there's a penalty for non-compliant. And the penalty for non-compliant include legal penalty, include financial fine, or the key or the worst part for the business when it comes to non-compliant, it's about their reputational damage, which gonna be affecting all their financial performance in the short or even the longer run. Okay, so those are the component in the mandatory reporting requirement. But also we talk about non-mandatory because not every country or not every aspect of the ESG have a mandatory reporting requirement. So a lot of the time it's voluntary reporting, so that's not mandatory. But if it is not mandatory and if you want to report, so what are the components that should be included in the report? Number one is about environmental performance. So again, you report on how you are doing in terms of the environment, how you are doing in terms of waste management, in terms of water usage, in terms of the GHG emission, so on and so forth. And then the second part, which is very similar to the mandatory reporting requirement as well, is a social performance. So you talk about how the company is doing in terms of treating people, how they are doing in terms of engaging with their communities, how they are doing in terms of human rights. Are they part of that or are they against that? So that's the second part in the non-mandatory reporting. The third one is about governance practice. So we saw that the governance structure, which is one of the components in the mandatory reporting requirement as well. But when it comes to non-mandatory reporting requirement, you should also do that. You need to disclose what is your governance practice, what is your ethical practice, what is your board diversity, what is your law or policy in regard to ML, in regard to ESG related risk. So all the things that again might have impact on ESG that you would be discussing in this section under the governance practice. The other item that should be reported is sustainability goal and target. So again, if you decide to do ESG, if you decide to practice ESG, you definitely set a goal. So how the goal was set up and how you are doing in terms of meeting that goal should be reported in this report. the other section that should be included there is stakeholder engagement. So how you are engaging with your stakeholder, including the customer, including the employee. Is the feedback from the customer been taken into consideration? Is the feedback from the employee taken into consideration while you do product development, while you do revision of policy and process? So all of that engagement should be included in there as well. And then the last part is about the data. So you put all of that, and then you need to show the data to support all your argument in terms of ESG benefit. Okay, so when it comes to non-mandatory reporting, although it's not mandatory and it's voluntary work done by the corporation or the business itself, they generally use a standard that is already kind of like set up around the world. So there's a lot of them that can be used. One including GOI, the Sustainability Accounting Standard Board, SASB, the Sustainable Development Goal from the UN, the Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosure. So those standards, it's not just for the ESG itself, but it have specific part in relation to reporting on ESG. You can also use integrated reporting, OI, CDC, which is the Disclosure Insight Actions. And the other one is ISO 26000. So those are the standards that is available and used around the world, which can be searched, and then you can just adapt using that standard to help you in trying to report your ESG activity in the business rather than just setting up and using. Okay, so it's understandable when it is mandatory required by regulator that you have to report it. So when it is not required, so why do you have to report? Why do you want to do extra work reporting all your ESG performance? One of the reasons is to enhance transparency and accountability. So you want to show to the public, you want to show all your stakeholders that you are transparent and that you are accountable to all the stakeholders, not just generating the profit or the revenue for the shareholder. And you are also trying to build a good reputation. So you want to stand out among your peers, that you have a very good reputation. So again, all of this is going to ultimately benefit your financial returns as well. The other, number three, the reason why you should be reporting, although it's not required, is to meet a stakeholder expectation. So like I said, there's a lot of stakeholders involved. Some of them want to see how we are doing, and that it's going to create more relation or more interaction with them when we do reporting our ESG work. And number four, which is the key item that I've been seeing as the motivation for corporate or for business to do reporting as a non-mandatory reporting on ESG, is to attract investor and capital. So as to grow the business, and then you want to talk to different type of investor, and their interest might be ESG. So you want to report that, you want to show them that you're doing so well, so that they can be investing in your companies as well. And you want to align yourself with the global sustainability goal. Similar to what I said before, you want to differentiate yourself from the competitor. This can become one of your key advantage. So for a lot of business, I mean, that happened to all of us as well. The pricing the same, all the same, but because of this ESG, we feel better in using their product, and then we feel bad using the other company product because we know that they're doing harm to the community, they're doing harm to the people they are working with. And sometimes we do this because we want to prepare for future regulation. And this, an example that I can give is very much on the financial sector. A lot of the time they created their own reporting standard. They created their own ethical code of conduct, because they want to make sure that if there's going to be change in the regulation in the future, it would be kind of adapted to that. So they do this, they practice this, they show this to the related regulatory body, and then they can be adapted into the future regulations as well. And also when you do the reporting, you kind of like you understand a little bit more on what you are doing. And because of you do the reporting, you can also use this opportunity to identify the risk and the opportunity of ESG related, which gonna be having impact to the business as well. You also want to strengthen your internal process by doing this reporting. And you also respond to the market trend and consumer demand. Consumer, especially in developed country, especially what we call educated customer, the more they are educated, then the more they think about additional value than just what the actual product itself can be given to the customer. So they look at more than that. We always see that kind of like people from Europe, they kind of like they agree to pay higher for the product that have better impact to the community rather than have a negative impact to the community. So yes, the number 11 and number 12, which is the supporting ethical and moral obligation for the business, and also to recognize or to gain third-party recognition and certification is very much similar to what I have just discussed now. Okay, so the other thing that I should talk about now is about climate change. So why climate change? What does it mean for business, and what is it related to corporations? It is very much relevant. Okay, so climate change is important to any business, whatever sector you are in. It is very important. From now, it's not just the investor, but more and more people are actually making business accountable to the environment, to the environmental impact that they are bringing in. So if they have a negative impact to the environment, they have to do something to reduce or to compensate for that negative impact. So it's very important for the business to stay aware of that, and then taking into the consideration into their action plan or into their strategy what they need to do for that. And when it comes to climate change, the key challenge that we see facing by business is about how to measure the impact on the climate change, whether you are having negative impact, whether you are doing something good for the climate change. It's really hard to measure. So it's hard to quantify the GHG emission. It's also, there's no standard reporting framework on the climate change impact. The availability of data and the quality of data is also questionable. And then it's also very, very difficult to value the climate-related risk or the opportunity from that. It's very much intangible. So it's really hard to measure that. Okay, this last one is about the role of the corporate governance in the corporate accountability. So we heard about different stakeholders in corporate governance. We heard that through the different modules just now. So the question here is, how do these people or how do this group impact in terms of the corporate accountability? The board of directors, what are their role and what are their responsibilities? So the BOD, the board of directors, they ensure that the sustainability target or the goal, the sustainability goal, which is ESG related, are integrated into the overall business strategy. Because if it is not incorporated into the overall strategy, then definitely it won't be implemented. So it's the responsibility of the BOD, of the board of directors, to ensure that these goals are included in their strategic direction. And then the second tier of the corporate governance is the leadership and the management. So these people ensure that the target that is included into the strategy by the board, they are ensured that those activities are carried out and that the goals are met. In some business, especially when they take ESG to the serious, to the extreme level, they haven't set up this what we call sustainability committee, or in some organization they might just call social performance committee. So the name might be different, but the key thing is that this committee is responsible to ensure that ESG target, ESG activity are included and that they are carried out across the company, across the organizations. The stakeholder engagement. So all different stakeholder, the stakeholder engagement in the corporate governance mechanism ensure that all the stakeholders in the business, so like the management, the employee, the customer, they all are engaged in related to the ESG activity. So it's important that everyone understand the role and what they should be doing in regard to ESG. The risk management framework, which is the key for corporate governance, the risk management framework. But it's also the key here for ESG. So it incorporates the risk related to ESG to the overall risk management framework. It ensures that the risks are being discussed and that the risk related to ESG, not just for financial, not just for the risk related to financial part of the business are discussed and mitigated. Performance management and reporting. So we have ESG included into the strategy. We have ensured that it is implemented, and we have ensured that every stakeholder are engaged in relation to ESG. We also ensure that the risks related to ESG are being discussed and mitigated or minimized. But here we also need to report. So how are we doing in terms of ESG? We ensure that all activity are reported and that the performance related to ESG are also kind of reviewed and evaluated as the same as other KPI, which is linked to the number 7 in relation to the incentive and compensation. So when we talk about incentive and compensation, we talk about everyone, but the key here is about the top management, the senior leaderships and the management. So when we have the right incentive and compensation structure, we ensure that people are motivated to carry out the ESG related tasks. Then we should also, the policy and process, which is also another key component in corporate governance. We should include all the ESG related into the policy. So we should have code of conduct, we should have ethical policy, which with this policy is going to guide behavior across the company. So the staff behavior, the management, the board of directors, all the related party, even the third party who will be engaged into the business should also comply into the, with this policy. Okay, so we hear a lot about the environmental and social responsibility, which is the corporate accountability of the business. But what I want to briefly discuss here is about the challenge in this ESG performance. So every business want to do that, or there's a reason why they should be doing that. But it's quite challenging for the business to actually implement ESG. Number one is expertise gap. We don't have a lot of expertise in this area. So ESG, although it's been kind of like discussed for quite many years in some countries, it is new for some. And we don't have kind of like the knowledge to do it. We don't have the knowledge to measure it. So we don't have much in this area. The second part, which is the key challenge, and this is something that we always see as a real challenge faced by the business, is about the short-term and long-term pressure. So the difference between these two. Earlier, Visna did raise a question about the decision made by the current US president. I did not mention anything during that time, but this is actually this part, the short-term pressure. And also Dr. Joe asked question about the different practice done by the government in different countries. It's also about these pressures as well. A lot of the time, business are pressured by their short-term result, whereas when we do ESG, it generally result for the for longer term. So it doesn't show benefit in the short term, but you have to achieve the financial target, you have to achieve something in the short term. And that is always one of the key challenges to balance between the financial focus and the social and environmental focus. Number 3 is about standard. So we have talked about a lot of standard. There's a lot of international standard out there in the world, but some of these standards are not consistent. So it's really challenging for the business to reporting. So you're dealing with different stakeholders. They might be using different standards. So it creates a lot of burden for the company to report following these different standards. And then the stakeholder conflict, which is very similar to the short-term and long-term benefit. Different stakeholders have different interests. So shareholder, most of the time, the financial target is their interest. For the community, their target, their benefit or their interest is different. So this stakeholder, there's always a conflict among them, and balancing this the interest of this stakeholder and ensuring that it has a good impact to the environment is really challenging. Okay, so what can we take away from this topic as the corporate accountability in regard to the corporate governance? So number one, although we see the challenge in implementing ESG, although we see a lot of different things, but it's very, very key that ESG should be incorporated into or integrated into their governance frameworks. In every decision-making process, there should be this component about sustainability, because it's not just helping you look good from ESG perspective, but it's also gonna have the business being sustainable for the longer term. When you do ESG reporting or embedding into your business, you also increase enhance the transparency, perception from the public that you have all of this, you show this transparency. Engage stakeholders. So actively engage different stakeholders to ensure they understand about sustainability target, the activity, and how these are reported. So all of these stakeholders should be engaged to understand that. And climate change. So climate change gonna impact the business, whatever business you are in, whatever sector you are in. So we need to prioritize that climate-related risk and consider about opportunity and put that into our strategy. And align or drive the long-term value. So like I said, ESG, one of their challenge is about the fact that it is short-term pressure from the different stakeholder. And when we talk about ESG, it's all very related to the long-term benefit. So we try to align this ESG with the long-term business success and interest of the different stakeholders. So unless the business, you want to stay for short term, you don't want to last for long term, then you should be considering the ESG part. Thank you. That's it. Oh, maybe not my question because already 12 plus.
Thank you very much, Sothany, for the brief introduction about the corporate sustainability in terms of corporate accountability. Thank you very much. And I believe we have a lot of information and understanding on this sustainability, how important it is, what are the challenges. And now I would like to open the floor to all the professors, associate professors, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any question related to corporate accountability, please, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. You know, I learned a lot for, this ESG today. Very nice.
I learned a lot too.
That's good, you know, because a lot of new things.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of new things. So I want to know about the government industry, you know, about the ESG economy, governance and environment, how it is look like in Cambodia. Can you identify the status of government industry comparing to this ESG?
The answer will be public or it's going to be private in this group only. No, so I mean, okay, thanks for the question. I did mention briefly about the sector that have a higher impact to the environment, and I did mention garment sector. And yes, garment and textile sector is one of the sector that have really a strong impact to the environment, the pollution that you can bring in. And it's also one of the reasons why we say it is very much high impact to the environment and also social performance. It's because it involves a lot of labor. In Cambodia, garment sector is actually the sector that may employ the highest in terms of labor. Forget about the agricultural sector, which is the informal one. So garment sector might be the one that employ the most. When we first have the garment business in Cambodia, we hear a lot about labor compliance. We hear a lot about the issue on how the worker is treated. And along the way, there's a lot of establishment in relation to labor law. So we have an SSF fund, we have a lot of things coming up. It's also because the government have learned from this sector. So it's very sensitive topic when we say, okay, how they are doing in Cambodia in terms of the environmental and social performance. I think they do it better now comparing to what they did in the past. Whether it's enough or whether it's already best, I still doubt that. There's still room for improvement. There's still a lot of things to be done. But again, like I said, this one is the sector that have the higher risk in relation to the environment and the social performance. They have better treatment plan for their worker. Now there's also still company who treating their worker unfairly. Some they try to benefit from the law and so that. But I do say that they do better in comparing to the past, but still there's still room for improvement.
Okay, that's good, you know. But I heard that a lot of garment factories, you know, they have mandatory to do
Yes, they do.
sustainable reporting, you know, because the customer, you know, the customer from overseas like CK, Uniqlo, GAP, Gap, they don't require having this. Otherwise, they will not put an order for the garment factories.
Yep.
So how do you know anything about this? Whether they meet the minimum requirement?
Well, I don't have specific figure for specific group or specific company, but again, when we talk about garment factory in Cambodia, there's a lot of tiers. So there are different tiers. So we have this tier whom we can call compliance, the one who's kind of like well-organized factory, and this take order from well-known brand like CK, like GAP, so on and so forth. So these are the well-established factory, and generally they are better in terms of compliance, including the labor law compliance, including the environmental compliance. And because these people, they need to do that compliance, or they need to take all of this into their operations, because if they don't, they're going to lose the order from their client. So this is actually the stakeholder interest or the stakeholder relation that they want to gain. And that's the reason why they implement this ESG. But there's also factory who are taking order from anyone who do not have this compliance. So for those clients, the requirement on ESG is not that serious. And then as the result, the factory would also take advantage from that as well. So I think that might be kind of like the second or third tier in our garment factory business in Cambodia. And there's also one who's kind of like being as a contractor for the factory itself. So their name is not known to anyone, actually. It's not known to the customer, it's not known to the end user. They only have this contract with the factory to help them fulfilling the order. So to these people, maybe no compliance at all. So again, it's depend on where you stand in terms of the corporation, and it's the benefit or it's the interest of the key stakeholder, it's the management and the shareholder whom they want to engage and where they stand in terms of the ESG. But yes, for the top tier, they have a lot of requirements that they have to fill in, and also for themselves, they work in this sector, they have their own ESG requirements as well, maybe.
Thank you, Sothany and Dr. Visna. I may add something in terms of this sector. In government sector, as we know, it is labor intensive and the margin is very small. So
Yes.
there are a lot of challenges for them to comply. So in this sector related to the sustainability and ESG practice, usually they will involve in different areas that we have to see. One is on the environmental impact, whether they are polluted, they are using too much water, energy. Some of factory, they are moving toward the renewable energy. They are moving toward the waste management in their practice of the manufacturing process. And number 2 is on the labor compliance. They are complying more and more. Factory are compliant with the labor law, and also they are compliant with the international standards such as ILO in order to have a framework to standardize their manufacturing process so that they can comply with all the requirements from the buyer. Example, in Europe, in America, they are following all this compliance report so that the buyer can place the order with this factory. For those non-compliant, they cannot take international order, but they will take local order and supply to the local market, or they supply to the international order, but is through those compliant manufacturing. Number 3 is on the material sourcings that they are sourcing from their partners, some compliant framework. All the value chain, they have to comply strictly with the compliant procedures. Some are not very strict, depending on the buyer and the size and the scope of the manufacturing and the business that they are partnering with. On the number 4, on the manufacturing process, how they are doing the processing of the manufacturing inside the factory, how they set up the environment, whether they are taking care of the employee health and well-being or not. Some factory, they are having a green factory, so-called. They set up a very good environment inside the factory. They ensure the wind circulation in the factory is very good, not impact to the workers. They have the place for the mother that have a newborn baby, a small baby, to take care of the baby breastfeeding inside the factory. They are considering about the education of the baby, of the workers, and they are considering about the meal to supply to the workers. Not all the factory are complying with that, but some good governance, good compliance factory, they will comply to those requirements. They are also responsible for the social responsibility, that they have the social programs. They have the individual training of the workers. They spend a lot of money to increase the skill and the knowledge of the worker in their whole manufacturing process. And last but not least, on the consumer engagement, they are reporting as a public to all the stakeholders, to the buyers. They also welcome the inspector from all those compliant regulators and the compliant bodies to visit the factory, inspect how the compliant they are in terms of ESG, in terms of CSR that they are implementing, any area that they can improve through the recommendation after the auditing. All those compliant, we can see that within this 10 years have been improved a lot for manufacturing in Cambodia. And believe me or not, the labor intensive industry, especially in garment manufacturing, those countries like developing country, for example, Cambodia, that we are moving toward the vision of Cambodia 2030 to be the higher middle income country. It will be challenging for garment manufacturing to survive. And Cambodia, we have to move toward more industrialized, including agro-processing, including high value chain of agriculture, including light manufacturing and skilled workforce, more important in the futures. Because when we move, upgrading our economy, the salary will be upgrading a lot. So the inflation will be there, and we have to know how to cope up with those kind of challenges in the futures. So all these are the recap of your question, Dr. Visna. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very comprehensive.
Is there any other question from the floor?
I think we take almost 4 hours, 3.5. But very good, very good and very interesting modules.
Yeah, good that we take only 3.5. We thought we could not finish it.
Okay. So I give the floor to Mr. Peng, and then you can say something, or you can ask some advice from Dr. Thani or from Dr. Sak, because this is the last module of our session.
Okay, okay. Nice. Well, I like to say you are very well organized, both knowledgeable and preparation. I'm very appreciate. Yeah, you are look like a presenter or the trainer, and present to the audience to understand your role in the governance and ethics for accountant and accounting firm also. I have knowledge more than I have. Related to the definition of the concept of the governance. For Thailand, we call it the good governance. It related to political and instill both process and outcome that are necessary to achieve the goal. I need to talk a little bit for the process, outcome, and the goal. The process and outcome, Dr. Sak CEO used to present, and I catch something during his present. He said the governance maybe not just only know that we have accountable, transparency, responsive, equitable, inclusive, effective, efficient, follow the rule of law, participation, and consensus oriented. But he said when you buy something like the end product, much you may happy because it very cheap and good quality. But the government should be thinking about the process for if they are the animal skin like a crocodile skin, the process how to got it. He said something like that. Maybe the cup of paper for a water and we drink. The process maybe made from a child labor without overtime and less. Yeah, the process will show us what is the governance. This is our CEO used to talk to me. Then from my side, I think George asked for the difference from developing country and European country, and we have Mr. Peng and the last ladies answer a little bit, and I will talk about they maybe come from people spirit from inside out. Yeah, if we can see everything as you see, as your paradigm, and then you do both positive and negative, then the result will related to you did. Yeah, this is I thinking about this is the effective people and new habit. Yeah, that's why our corruption perception index from third country for poor country not good, better than European. If you know right now for CPI 2024, the top three is Denmark number 1, Finland number 2, and Singapore number 3. And for Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, Vietnam, and China, we not have least to the top score. Top score is the 100 mark. We not over 50. Yeah, we are very low because maybe not just from the policy of government, but from people inside. Yeah, this is my opinion. That from your presentation, I think you can write down in the chapter 1 at the 1.3 like a related concept and theory. You can use it for your presentation today. And to your work in the chapter 2, like how you preparation and how operation, and what is the result that you found. Then you write down in the model. Yeah, this is my thinking. Okay, everything okay and appreciate. Well done.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thani, for your input on this presentation today. And I do agree with you. The buyer also have the responsibility in terms of good governance. For example, like in food industry, we have the halal certification, and according to my understanding of the halal certification, they are very good process in terms of how they kill those animal to make it as a food. How the hygiene that they are focusing on consumers, those are very good standard that we can adapt into the food industry, and also other good practices in terms of governance and practical process that we can learn for each of the professions. Thank you very much, Dr. Thani. Is there anything from other professor?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Dr. Lam.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. I think that's today that Dr. Josh and Dr. Chris join our session now. It's very good because he had to prepare for the same thing that we have done today and last time too. I think this is a new thing of the Bodhisattva University from Vesna and the team, from the Peng also and other people. I think that it is a new standard, new standard of international university. We are going to international university. Yeah. Yes. And Dr. George, Dr. Chris coming here and have the student join at the same time, and Dr. Humphrey in Nigeria, the people in Nigeria interested in your team that made this education for this. I'm very appreciate, and today is very, I think very delighted for your this for the contents of the presentation. I think that the content is going to the good governance about it. Now I think that the AI from the Google and from the social media now going to AI, and AI is I asked many professional, many and informed from many applications. He said that ethical is a very important to beyond the machine or the code of the code of the computer. Ethic is very important. What is ethic? I think that with the social media, ethic is normalized. To normalize, you can see normalize in the world because of the dissipation or the democratized with the AI machine, with the internet, that democratize the people in the world. And we still use this thing in our education. So good governance, I think is better than, it will better than the former time, better than, because of democratizing to every people in the world from AI, from internet, and every agency. For good governance, I think that now ethical, no more ethical, human ethical of the global world should be the normal standard of the world. It is a normal religion. It is a more religion, not the Buddhism religion or anything. We can see it. What happened? Yeah. And we can see it, the democracy, opinion, comment all over the world. And we are trying to educate, not educate, to have the participation in the global education, like we are going to do here. Thank you.
So on behalf of my team, I believe we don't have any other comment. So this is to conclude our ethics and governance. On behalf of my group 2, that consists of Ms. Sonida, myself, Bong Samen, Mr. Pikbolan, and Ms. Sothany, I would like to say thank you very much to all the professors, associate professors, doctors, and especially Dr. Visnas, who have helping us to facilitate on all this learning journey, grouping together, and guiding us through how we are doing the process of learning as a group journey. Last but not least, remember this: ethical business and good governance will minimize risk and bring more opportunity for sustainable growth. This is to conclude our presentation of the day, and thank you very much. Appreciate for all your times, all your inputs, and your comment toward our presentation today. Thank you very much. And
Okay.
I would like to say thanks to my teams that have been putting a lot of great effort to gather the information, doing the research, preparing for presentation, and deliver a very great presentation today that I believe it will be a good learning point. It's not only for our team, but for others as well, for ongoing in our education journey at Bodhisattva University. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And I appreciate what you present from the 9 o'clock until right now and almost 1 o'clock. Yeah, that's very good, very good. And so most I see that our presenter the focus about the principles, like the principle of the ethics and the governance, and but what that we want to focus more is about experience, like how you apply the ethics and the governance to the company, that you can share your experience to your company about this one. Then and thank you for the last one, the lady, the last one. She present about large, not much based on the principles. Yeah, principle, but present what she understand, what she understand. If you focus about the slides, and then then you talk a lot of the like surely we can take only the 3 hours, but because the focus on the slide, and then talk much the hours, like the 4 hours, the 5 hours, it's not yet finished. But I'm still appreciate, I learned a lot from your presentation. Thank you so much.